Remember that old MMORPG game that you played or seen people play where they take turns hitting each other with the old tile square-like graphics and the "bye girlfriend with gold" meme? Yeah, that's still alive. On the official site, there is a live player count that stays strong at the moment at around 100k plus players. Some may say that the high number is due to the new temporary game mode that just dropped, Leagues 4 Trailblazer Reloaded. If you were ever a fan of RuneScape in the past or have an interest in playing this long and grindy game, well, this game mode is a perfect intro for you to jump in and try the game with its accelerated format. Leagues 4 will allow you to experience the game with EXP multipliers, useful teleportation methods that take you almost anywhere in the vast land of RuneScape with just one item, and an increase in item drop rates. All many things that I kind of wish was in the real game low-key. Oh yeah, one of the bonuses, or relics in this game mode, even makes items free in the NPC store, so you can literally buy a bajillion expensive items and just drop it on the floor to tease other people. With Leagues 4, RuneScape actually hit 200k players concurrent for the first time in forever. Now this was huge because it just shows how alive RuneScape can be when compared to the giants of the MMO world like WoW, Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, Black Desert. Does anyone actually play Black Desert anymore? Even without the Leagues game mode, old school RuneScape still does hold up on its own. Without all the cool benefits from Leagues 4, players still surprisingly enjoy the long, arduous, and hand-aching grind of just wanting to see your numbers go up. People actually enjoy the long journey to get across the great continent of the game to make it to the next goal, and playing those lengthy, stressful, and tedious quests for those sweet rewards. Just saying the quest named Monkey Madness 2 to an old school RuneScape player and you'll trigger some PTSD flashbacks. Ah, good times. It makes a lot of people just think, you know, like, what makes this game so appealing? Why play a game that's so old looking, you know? It doesn't really have the conventional, beautiful graphics like a lot of games in our current landscape have. The slow combat with the one option to attack people rather than have an array of buttons to spam on your keyboards, seen in the likes of Final Fantasy or WoW. It's mostly just a point and click in RuneScape, and in fact, you can just play the game with just one hand on the mouse. Use that information as you will. This game somehow has a grip on players years later. Players are often seen taking long breaks but always returning to re-experience the OSRS gameplay. And the game doesn't just appeal to the basement-dwelling nerds, okay? We got like YouTubers like Jarvis Johnson and Drew Gooden who play as well. And this one surprised me during my research, but Post Malone also plays RuneScape at a certain point, or still does. I found this one out from Colonello's video, so go check out his YouTube channel if you want to see more RuneScape content. The original version of old school RuneScape was released back in 2004 and was developed by Jagex, a studio based out of the UK. There was a classic RuneScape prior to this, so many refer to this as RuneScape 2. Originally developed in Java, this allowed RuneScape to be played on browsers and didn't require any download of any sort, making the ease of access easy enough for anyone to try to play. And to be real here, I honestly thought the graphics were like peak at its time. I thought this was gonna be as good as it's gonna get. And also, it came with a free-to-play model on the side, which was appealing to me as my Asian parents hated paying for anything that was on the internet. Since its conception, RuneScape has undergone massive amounts of changes, going from what it looks like with, well, old school RuneScape to what it looks like now. Many refer to this version of RuneScape as RuneScape 3. From afar, the game can be described as an updated version of old school RuneScape with many skills and features not seen in old school RuneScape. Unfortunately for Jagex, RuneScape 3 did not appeal to many players who just enjoyed RuneScape in its previous state before. The then CEO at the time of Jagex, Mark Gerhard, made a game news announcement, basically saying, yeah, our bad. But we can look into an old version of RuneScape if you guys want. The Jagex team looked into a backup of the game from the years 2006 to 7, and they were happy to report they were able to find a working snapshot of the game from August of 2007. To gauge interest to determine if there was a demand for this, they set up a voting system with multiple levels. The votes passed and the old school servers went live in February of 2013. With Java dead though, in our current day, you'll need to download a launcher to play RuneScape, but it's a super lightweight game, so it's usually not not too big or too cumbersome for most computers out there. This game isn't just an old snapshot of RuneScape 2 that was resurrected with no updates, but it actually includes its own exclusive content that isn't featured in RuneScape 3. Old School is thriving and has constant updates, so that's a good sign of long-lasting longevity. I'll briefly touch on this now but come back later, but you can still play RuneScape for free with an unlimited trial with restrictions, but when you become a member, it does open up the rest of the world of Gielinor and its trials for you to tackle on. If you're able to afford it, being a member will unlock so much stuff for you in the game, it's ridiculous, but once again, I'll come back more on this later. It's been more than 10 years at this point since the OSRS servers went live, and with that, we need to examine what exactly makes this game so appealing and kept it running for such a long time. From this point on, to avoid any confusion, if I say RuneScape, I'll be referring to OSRS and not the actual RuneScape 3. Everyone who starts a character on RuneScape goes through Tutorial Island, which is probably one of the most thorough and straight to the point tutorials of gaming. Here's where you learn the basics of the game with gathering, crafting, and combat. Combat having 3 primary styles: melee, magic, and range. We even have a rock, paper, and scissors system associated with it, with magic beating melee, melee easily defeating range, and range trumps magic. When you're finished with the island, you'll then be dropped into the main world of RuneScape, but before you do that, you'll find this Iron Man related NPC. This is where you can activate the Iron Man mode of RuneScape, and this will be your only chance to do so. In the normal gameplay of RuneScape, you're able to interact with players, as one does in an MMO, being able to trade with other players, pick up loot off the ground from other players, use the Grand Exchange, which is the central marketplace of RuneScape, to buy whatever items you'd like, and also, this is probably my best iteration of any kind of video game marketplace that's ever been created. Enter another player's owned home. You can interact with many things with other players in this game. However, if you choose to go the route of making your character an Iron Man, then you'll be effectively playing this game by yourself. You can't do all the things I listed above, and with a few exceptions such as mini games and raids, you'll have to learn how to be self-sufficient, and you can't buy things off the Grand Exchange anymore. You'll need to learn how to catch and cook your own food, make money without selling items to other players, so if you get a rare item drop or a random item that you don't need, you can't easily sell that to anyone, unfortunately. You gotta grow your own crops and herbs for potions. It's kind of torturous to play this way. Only insane people play this. I really can't fathom playing this when I first came back to RuneScape. Normal RuneScape gameplay lets you cheese many things and have items that you wouldn't normally be able to obtain at lower skill levels if you just had the gold to buy it. For example, stamina potions cannot be made unless you have a high level in herb lore, level 77 in fact. But you can easily buy these potions if you have the money as a normal player, bypassing that high level you need to make it yourself, allowing non-Iron Man players to use stamina potions to keep their run energy topped off, while Iron Man players just have to walk everywhere they have to go when they run out of energy. However, if you're able to overcome those really tough tasks as an Iron Man, doing everything on your own without help, it feels really good and satisfying. Being an Iron Man is painful but also rewarding at the same time. There are also different ways to play Iron Man out there. One of the ways is to play a group Iron Man where you can play amongst your friends and have a shared bank space and overcome tasks together with your shared items. And then there's also Hardcore Iron Man where you have a special hardcore status, and it's essentially the same as an Iron Man, but you have 1 life, and once you lose it, you'll be reverted back to a normal Iron Man status. So play carefully. Either way, deciding to play an Iron Man is completely up to you as the player if you want that challenge. Once you're done with Tutorial Island, you're then plopped into the main game at the starting town of Lumbridge. Oh, that iconic music, the sound of goblins getting murdered by other players. Ah, it takes me back. It takes me back. And where do you go from here? There's really no map marker or arrows to help point you to go into your next destination. Well, what about skills? What do you train first? Combat, gathering, crafting ones? A new player may find themselves absolutely lost, and yes, there's a guide in town, but he really only offers you a little bit of direction before you have to figure out yourself after that. But this is it. This is one of the hallmark moments of playing RuneScape. You can go anywhere you want and do nearly anything you want. You can start training your skills, like going fishing to get food and then cook those fishes so you can train your cooking skills in tandem. Don't feel like cooking and gathering? Well, you can just go out and smack the goblins nearby to train your combat skills. Choose your favorite kind of combat style and just work on that. Shear sheeps for a quest nearby, but be careful not to hit the rams instead because they look like the sheeps and... Wait, are those penguins? The developers are really silly people. You can go questing to unlock other features of the game, such as completing that easy cook assistant quest that lets you take advantage of that Lumbridge cooking range, which by the way, has an increased chance to not burn food when you cook on it. Go find ways to make money, do mini games, fake being somebody's girlfriend to get money. This one's morally wrong, and if you do this, you're evil. But that is the magic of RuneScape that other MMOs just don't have. This open-ended freedom that allows you to do whatever you want in any order. In Final Fantasy XIV, your main goal is to essentially do the main scenario quest. You really can't avoid this. Everyone ends up doing it, which eventually unlocks most of the game for you while letting you experience the story of the game, which is one of the key components of that MMO. And then you have WoW, where you're trying to, actually, I've never really played WoW in my life, so I can't really say anything about it. This isn't all to say that the other MMOs suck, but rather RuneScape's main appeal is the wide range of freedom that it has. If you plop 2 different players at the start of RuneScape and let them go crazy, they will play in completely different ways. One guy might end up fighting cows to work on their combat level, then bank the cow hides that drop to sell for money later to fund other projects, while the other can go fake being a girlfriend for money or something. Which of these 2 players is playing the 5D chess game? Well, that's up for you to decide. For those who are completely lost on what to do in old school RuneScape, well, there is the wiki, which is like the holy bible for all information on the game. Speaking of ways to play, some people even impose weird restrictions to challenge themselves, like training characters without ever putting a single point into combat skills, calling these players skillers, leaving your character stuck at the default level of 3, but eventually having your resource gathering and crafting skills maxed out at level 99. Basically, these characters hate combat, and one level of combat will ruin the essence of being a skiller. The possibilities of playing RuneScape is near endless. If you were living under a rock, the most famous piece of content that came from a creator in the RuneScape space is the Swampletics series by the YouTuber Settled. A series about how Settled locked himself into one region of the game and eventually worked his way up from being a new character to tackling on one of the hardest challenges of RuneScape, the Theater of Blood Raid. To top it all off, he played as an Ultimate Ironman, so on top of being a regular Iron Man, Ultimate Ironmans can never use their bank ever. He was stuck with the inventory space of 28 items throughout all of his play and had to learn how to overcome that, taking him over 5,000 hours to complete this challenge. And if you want to see other wacky challenges that he has plenty more on his channel. Go check that out. Even if you're not too much into RuneScape or your knowledge is lacking of the game, he will explain things thoroughly and his storytelling is so well done. Now, if all that sounds intense, well, don't worry. RuneScape's intensity is totally up to you playing the player. Whether you wish to invest into getting into the hardcore raids or simply AFK fish on the side while you're at work is up to you. RuneScape can be crazy scary to play one moment or the most relaxing experience in gaming the next. And this is why I actually came back to RuneScape recently. I found myself jumping back into the game earlier this year when I got sick with the flu. I remember not having the energy to play other games and just sat there watching TVs or movies to pass time. It made me feel not as productive as a person who likes to get up and do things rather than sit down and do nothing, but the idea of RuneScape then hit me and enticed me. I can simply sit at my computer, watch a TV show, stream, or edit videos on the side and occasionally click to have my character chop on trees to make progress. And because of the low requirement to play this old looking game, you can play this game on most potatoes. So as I'm rendering a video which is eating up a lot of my computer's resources, I can simply keep cutting trees. This appeases my productive side and I was happy with the results, and also seeing those numbers go up as you get EXP just hits those brain dopamines so well. And the best part is all those tree choppings will eventually add up. I can then use those logs that I've gathered to burn to train fire making if I wanted to, create planks for housing related training, or sell it to other players for money. And having a high wood cutting level would meet level requirements for certain quests, all furthering my goal of getting progress to the end game of RuneScape, so I'm rewarded just for putting a bit of effort while playing the game. There are multiple goals for players to attain, such as getting a skill to all the way to the max level or all skills to the max level, where you'll be awarded with skill capes. Each cape isn't just for showing off, but provides a bit of a bonus when you're wearing it. For example, the fire making cape also acts as a light source when equipped, freeing up your inventory space for another item instead to have. There's even a cape for questing if you completed all the quests in the game, and that in itself is quite a feat to do. Questing in RuneScape can range from being super easy to being one of the most difficult things to do in the game, ranging from the all too simple turn in a few items for a cook in Lumbridge to eventually fighting a race of dragons that threaten the end of all civilization. It doesn't necessarily quite jump up like that fast, but you know, over time you'll get to that point. Unlike the other MMOs with their helpful markers and hey, go to this point on your map to go where you need to go next for your quest, yeah, RuneScape natively doesn't have this. Of course, one of the most famous plugins from a third-party client, Quest Helper, pretty much makes your life easier by telling you all the items you need to do and what step you need to go for each step of the way. If you're new and you don't like being lost or having to open up on your second monitor a quest guide, then I very much recommend getting this plugin to help you navigate with quests. If for some odd reason you choose not to use the Quest Helper, you'll find yourself more immersed in the world of questing in RuneScape, with having to read dialogue carefully, solving riddles and puzzles as you go. Yeah, I'll be real, I kinda just stuck to the Quest Helper. I'm kinda stupid like that, but hey, if you're great at solving puzzles, then go for it. When you're a non-member, you'll only have access to a handful of free quests that you can do. Members will come across the rest of the 100+ quests in the game that will eventually unlock rewards and other features of the game, ranging from unlocking brand new areas of the game, allowing you to do even more, or allowing you to use certain equipment from quests. The benefits are huge, and well, it's now time that we talk about the elephant in the room, memberships. Not everybody is fond of the idea of paying a monthly fee for a video game, but when one does obtain a membership for RuneScape, it literally changes the whole game. It opens up an entire landscape of opportunities for you. You'll get access to so many features of gameplay, including member-only skills and actual late-game content. If you by chance have Amazon Prime, they sometimes have free membership given to you for like a week or so. This is a nice way of trying out membership without actually spending a dime directly. But you can also get membership by just playing the game. Bonds are items in the game that allow you to redeem and obtain 14 days of membership. Bonds can be purchased by other players with gold, in fact, and this is actually the only time an Ironman player can actually use the Grand Exchange just to buy bonds. But I will say bonds are very, very pricey, with them having to cost about millions of gold in the game, and the price keeps going up every time I see it. The plus side though, it is not out of the realm of possibility to end up funding your RuneScape membership just by playing the game when you hit endgame, just grinding gold through your gold making methods. Another way to obtain a bond is to find high level players who can make big money in-game and suck up to them for free bonds. How one gets their bond is up to them. One of my favorite examples of how membership kinda goes crazy is with the Waterfall quest. Waterfall quest is a members only quest, so sorry for you players, you can't access this at all. Listen, I know this is one of RuneScape's oldest quests in the game, so forgive them for having such a simple name for a quest like this. You can begin this quest as early as level 3, so practically right out of the gate of Tutorial Island, and it can be completed within an hour if you have all the items needed, so Quest Helper is really helpful here. The only real danger of this quest is to be ready to deal with giants who can actually one-hit kill you, potentially. And some of the rewards that you get from completing this quest includes 13,750 EXP in both strength and attack. This will typically launch players straight into level 30s in both those skills, bypassing all the early grind needed. Instead of having to sit at goblins for hours attacking them, this will completely bypass all that training and letting you also upgrade from bronze weaponry to adamant, which is just a tier below the rune weapons, which is used for most of the mid-game of RuneScape. And with better equipment means harder hitting attacks, meaning more EXP for your melee training. This is just one of the many examples of how strong memberships can be. They can save you time on skill training with the amount of EXP gained from all their exclusive quests. But hey, if you don't mind planting your character in one area to attack things for EXP while you AFK, that's completely a perfectly fine way to play the game as well. Also, did you know there is a mobile version of OSRS? It does have a mobile version, and it doesn't even take that much space up on your phone if you actually have it. The interface and the way it plays isn't really anything to go home and go wild about, but it gets the job done when you're out and about. Perfect for people who want to leave their character fishing and fighting while you're occupied by work, at the gym, or eating. And yes, I've actually done it at the gym a few times in my life. I was able to grind away at the game and not having to constantly be worried about the loss of EXP, which is one of the things you'll realize when you start to play RuneScape. Time is precious, as we all know. Whether we're spending time relaxing at work or hanging out with friends, we cannot deny we like to spend our time trying to make the most out of it in our short lives. Okay, that sounded a little bit morbid and dark. RuneScape in itself is a huge time sink. You'll find yourself having to decide things like having to spend hours AFKing, shooting spells at giants to level up your magic, using that time to work on skills like woodcutting, or fighting enemies for that rare drop to upgrade your gear. But I do find myself having trouble with this game and learning when to put it down and stop thinking about it. Any second that I wasn't spending time playing RuneScape, I thought was a waste of EXP, and that's something that you hear a lot about when you play this game. When you're not playing, dying, that's a waste of EXP. I think you're able to relate if you or if you know someone who plays RuneScape who just can't put the game down for a second. Because when you do, you start to think about, wait, I could be doing this on the side while playing RuneScape. And it's kind of a harmful mentality as you find yourself getting addicted to getting that next bit of EXP to get to that next level or your next goal. Thinking to yourself, one more level before I go to bed, and then suddenly it's 4 AM and you have work in the next few hours. The best way to handle this is by thinking that the game is going nowhere. Yes, you could have used that time while watching Family Guy to get some fishing EXP in, but dropping that mentality and being okay with that loss of EXP will be healthier for you in the long run. I had to keep telling myself this constantly to maintain a healthy lifestyle when playing RuneScape because it got that addicting. Like, I had it up at every single dinner and I was like, I can't be doing this. I have to be in the moment. But once you establish that healthy routine of playing RuneScape, it does get really fun. But I will admit, I've been talking a lot of positive things about this game, but I do have some gripes and other players may have the same things as well with me. RuneScape is a slow game, not just in terms of leveling skills, which can take a long time to get a skill to level 90, but the slow and painful march that you have to do when you run out of run energy is not fun and rough. Later in the game, you'll unlock different transportation methods, but until then, you have to walk and run everywhere in the early game. It can be off-putting to people who aren't used to it, and apparently this is actually being looked at, so we could see some changes for this, but until now, just know that it's really rough to walk around the game. There is some frustrating RNG associated with this game. Some quests have some really annoying RNG-based problems. In Desert Treasure 1, an already menacing quest with tough enemies and stressful mechanics, before you can finally get your reward from the quest, you have to navigate this pyramid where there's a lot of high-level enemies that can hit you hard, as well as them being able to poison you. And the icing on the cake, there is a trap that you can trigger randomly where you get taken out of the pyramid and have to restart your descent once more through all 4 floors. And you can't easily zoom through the pyramid because you are limited by your run energy. And if you think that's bad, well, try doing some of the elf quest line. Does the name Morning's End Part 2 strike fear into any RuneScape players out there? And there's a bit of intimidation, at least for me, when you're trying to tackle on the harder content as a newer player. Once you hit that mid-game, it can be a bit daunting to jump into the harder quest of the game if you're not used to playing this game prior. You'll have to learn how to do prayer swaps and equipment swaps as well. On their own, swaps are not hard, but mix that in with mechanics you have to do as well, and it can get kind of scary for new players. And there is another big problem with RuneScape. There's really no mid-game at the moment. In the beginning of RuneScape, you'll find many things to keep you busy, with leveling up your skills fast and quests to knock out left and right. But the gap between mid-game and late game is large. The end game is filled with things like God Wars, Tombs of Amaskut, Theater of Blood, and the Chambers of Zarek, which many would say is where most of the fun is to be had in the game. But before you get there, you'll need to level up a bunch of your skills to comfortably take on the end game. Most of your combat skills should be sitting around 80 to 90, and your non-combat skills would be necessary to level up as they are probably needed as requisites for other quests to unlock these endgame raids. Also, you'll need to upgrade your gear. That rune full armor may not be enough to help you tackle on all these hard challenges. You'll need to upgrade to things like the barrow gloves, which are obtained from the Recipe of Disaster quest, which has you doing many other quests prior to completing it. Fire Cape is great for melee players, but you'll need to do the infamous fight caves where you need to survive 63 waves of enemies and fight the mid-game boss Jad. If you die once during these 63 waves, you have to start all over at the very beginning. And even though the Fire Cape is a great melee item, you probably want to work on your range skill so that way you can tackle on the fight caves comfortably without having too many problems or issues. If you somehow take on the fight caves as a melee player, I salute you. That's actually pretty hard to do. Mid-game is just mostly a grind fest to get to the end game, and that is off-putting to so many new players because they can get lost so fast and probably bored. But Jagex is fully aware of this mid-game gap, and they're trying to work on it, so just give them some time, and hopefully they find something that can be a great solution. But if you can brave through that mid-game grind, the rest of the game is well worth playing for. Just like many other games in the world, the beginning is always so slow, but as you progress, you'll find things like the high-level spells and cooler and sleek weapons to use, and these all make it so worth playing RuneScape. And the damage that you get when you land a big hit makes you feel like one of the strongest players in the world. That wave of relief when you finally complete a quest, telling yourself, oh my god, did I just do that? When you complete something as hard as Dragon Slayer 2, or something as stupid and tedious as One Small Favor. Oh my god, that quest Don't even get me started on that quest. I'm sure any RuneScape player will tell you the first time that they cleared Monkey Madness 1 is one of the most triumphant feelings that anyone can feel. If you ever choose to go down the route of playing RuneScape, you'll understand the pains of clearing these hard quests, but once you do, you'll be in the know, where you'll be acknowledged by other players and the respect that can be felt among one another when you know how far you've came. Hell, even conquering the cornerstone free-to-play quest Dragon Slayer 1, where most players fight their first ever dragon, Elfrog, I think that's how you say it, is a moment that many players can look back on and think of fondly. Cutting off the head of the dragon as this final shining moment before you turn it in and then finally be granted the ability to wear the iconic rune plate body armor. Also, getting a 99 in any skill in RuneScape is one of the most satisfying feelings ever because you're sitting there finally thinking to yourself, I wasted all this time and I got a cape for it. It feels so good actually. And oh, the music of RuneScape is just perfect. It has this air of early 2000s gaming to it. Anytime I hear any of the beginning songs of this game, I just get hit with a wave of nostalgia. Like, this game from way back in the early 2000s is still alive. Like, it just feels insane. I feel like a kid playing it again. And don't forget, we have Sea Shanty 2, baby, the best song ever created in gaming. These are some of the many fun aspects of RuneScape, and I've been wrestling with the thoughts of what exactly makes RuneScape so great, and it hits me. Working on your character is kind of like a Sims game. You take care of them, they get stronger, you fight all these scary monsters, demons, whatever the hell that thing is, and you grow alongside these characters. It's like taking care of a Tamagotchi, albeit a really ugly looking Tamagotchi, but that ugly little guy will eventually do great things with you, like doing hard raids, mini games, and conquering challenges along the way. I was finally able to get back to the point in RuneScape where I remember where I left off last. I then started tackling the content in this game, facing down the King Black Dragon, doing barrows for some good gear drop, getting my first ever fire cape, finishing off all the hardest quests in this game, Recipe for Disaster, Monkey Madness 2, Dragon Slayer 2, Song of the Elves, and its awful agility obstacles that just make you fall and fall and fall. Oh, who invented this? I hate this. I finally, for the first time in my life, acquired the quest cape from completing all the quests in the game. And just as soon as I got it, I lost the ability to wear it because they added Desert Treasure 2 to the game, and that quest is scary. I don't want to tackle that on right now, no thanks. Younger me would have been so proud. From sweating through all the scary quests that I had to do or having to retry a boss after dying, it all paid off so much. I never felt so accomplished. Whenever I accomplished anything tough in this game and I told my friends about it, they all knew. They just understood all that grind that went into it, and they just congratulated me, and that felt even more amazing. I started feeling something unfortunate right after I got my quest cape because just as quickly as I got it, I felt so lost right after. Because to me, my goals were to chase after the quest and get those done. Seeing all those red quest names turn to green for completion felt great. After completing all the quests and unlocking all this content in the game, I didn't know what to do next with myself. I could go make money, I can go do the hard raids finally with my friends, but I was just overwhelmed with all these choices I could make. But then I did the unthinkable, something I didn't think I would do in my whole life. I started another character. An Ironman. I decided to run it back on Ironman because why not? Previously thinking I would never do that. That's crazy. That's a waste of time. Yet, months later after starting it, I accomplished so much. And this is such a common occurrence in RuneScape. People would love to run it back, making new characters after maxing all their quests and skills. They love to just run it back and do it all over again, even doing it on Ironman. And during my time as an Ironman, I finally achieved my first ever 99 skill, fire making. Okay, I know it's not that hard, but hey, still takes a lot of time. And while playing as an Ironman, I learned so much more about this game that I didn't know before, actually becoming self-sufficient and not buying things whatever I need from the Grand Exchange. Whenever I had an herb, I actually knew what to do with that in potion making, rather than throw it up on the Grand Exchange and like had no idea what to do with that and just buy potions from other people. And that is the key part about this game. You learn so much as you play, and the journey is the best part of playing this game. The true appeal of playing RuneScape is the journey of you accomplishing all these difficult tasks. Hearing that sound for when you level up, going to battle Elfrog for the first time ever, and I still don't know how to say that name, god damn it. Getting that rare drop from a monster that costs over 20 mil to sell on the GE, which I got somewhat back to back in relatively short time, so damn, I was making some bank back then. Yes, doing the endgame raids is fun, or some of the other activities, but I think we all have the sick nature inside us to just run it back and suffer through the grind once more. And if you too know the horror hours of blackjacking from levels 30 to 88 to level up your thieving, then don't worry. Just know that my hand is still hurting from it too. You're not the only one. But when you finally finish that grind session and look back at it, it feels amazing to see all the results that you made. The knowledge that you acquire from playing RuneScape is immensely helpful, like the Cook Assistant quest, one of the first quests in this game. Players can knock this out within their first 5 minutes of getting off Tutorial Island, knowing all the items you need, the bucket of milk, eggs, and pot of flour. You can actually start this quest and then turn it in ASAP for a fast finish. The game even comments on this if your character has everything ready to go. Once you learn that the waterfall quest entirely skips your early game melee training, you never end up wanting to spend those hours training it ever again. But let's take it a bit further. While we're in the middle of the waterfall quest, let's finish up the Tree Gnome Village quest, because we happen to be in the same neighborhood as whereas the waterfall quest takes us. Bring some food with you throughout the quest so that way you don't take too much damage, and also you can cheese the final boss right here, and don't do what I'm doing here, look up a proper way on how to cheese it, but you can cheese him and almost take no damage while fighting him. Finish the quest, you're awarded with a new way to teleport around the game using the Tree Gnome Spirit Trees, but also you're awarded with even more attack EXP. And hey, since we're in the area already, let's go ahead and do the Fight Arena quest that's just nearby. You can cheese all of the fights in this quest with range by having this dead man's corpse get between you and the enemies that only use melee. They just get stuck, taking little to no damage throughout all of this quest. And that last boss that appears, this general guy, yeah, you can just ignore him. You can walk out the door as soon as he appears. You don't have to fight him at all. Finish up the quest and be awarded with enough EXP to skip adamant entirely and just start using rune weapons. Here's another one. For an easy 10k in gold, you can simply go to the Stronghold of Security, navigate the dungeon, and get yourself some Pride boots or the tough guy looking boots along with some gold. And this 10k gold cash stack is a good start to your journey on RuneScape, so you can buy some ruins for magic or whatever you need. It almost feels like cheating when you know how to do all of this, but that's just part of the game, baby. That's how great RuneScape is. It just skips a lot of the grind and you're awarded because of your previous knowledge. And this is one of the many reasons why I love RuneScape. RuneScape is the age-old lesson of be careful of who you make fun of in high school, because even if a game looks this ugly, it can still be extremely fun. And alright, look, I know you can download a plugin to make your game look prettier, but for me, I actually enjoy the silly and out-of-style graphics of this game. That, and it runs better on my computer anyways. It doesn't matter how something looks on the outside, but it can be fun on the inside. Just like your mom. RuneScape is my ultimate nostalgia game, one of the most rewarding games when it comes to knowledge as well. RuneScape can be both your primary and your secondary monitor game to play. Big emphasis on secondary because it's hailed as one of the greatest secondary monitor games that's ever graced our lives. And to me, this is all the appeal of the ugly game that is RuneScape. Thank you guys for watching, but big shout out to my Patreon members out there for supporting me. If you wish to also become a Patreon as well for me, then go check out my page. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.